George Bush and Dan Quayle will represent the Republicans. Dan Quayle may be a new name to Texans, but it's one they're certain to hear a lot more about. Clarice, what's the reaction from the Republicans there in New Orleans?
One of excitement, Steve. Today's welcoming rally set the stage for an announcement that surprised most people who expected George Bush to keep his vice presidential pick secret until Thursday.
Our party is blessed with a wealth of men and women who would be excellent. But my choice, and the one I will recommend, is an outstanding United States Senator. He is a leader in matters of national security. He is an innovator who is leading the effort to retrain our workers in this country so that they will be able to better lead the workforce of tomorrow. My choice for the vice presidency is Senator Dan Quayle of Indiana.
The Texas delegation was supposed to get first word of the selection. Channel 4's Steve Stoller is on the floor with Lone Star delegates for their reaction. Steve?
Clarice, I'm sure the delegates would have loved for George Bush to have made that announcement at the caucus, but the Texas delegates I talked with tonight say they are not disappointed. In fact, they like Dan Quayle. It did not take long for the Bush-Quayle signs to arrive at the Texas delegation. But what do the delegates know about the little-known senator from Indiana?
I understand that he's a good conservative and a man with a lot of vitality, a good family man, and I think that we'll be very happy with Dan Quayle.
He's part of the Reagan Revolution of the 1980s. He's very much a part of the economic expansion of the 1980s.
On the issues, George Bush and Dan Quayle are almost identical.
Delegates we talked with say Quayle will help the Republican ticket in the Midwest with young people and with women, closing the so-called gender gap.
I think it closes the gender gap, the generation gap, and all the other gaps.
George Bush won't be making the coveted vice presidential announcement to the Texas delegation, but one thing is certain. You can expect that in the next 2 days, both candidates will at some point visit the Texas delegates. Clarice?
Okay, Steve, thank you. And joining me now is former U.S. Senator from Texas and delegate to this convention, John Tower. Senator Tower, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Clarice.
Dan Quayle worked with you in the Senate. What's your reaction to having him on the ticket?
Well, I think he's a good choice. Dan worked with me on the Armed Services Committee when I was chairman. He was really a good member of the committee. He assumed a lot of important responsibility, carried it out well. He's a very aggressive campaigner, but not an abrasive campaigner. He's a proven vote-getter. He comes from the Midwest. I think he's got a lot of good attributes that commend him to the ticket. I think he'll do a good job for us.
You mentioned the Armed Services Committee. The defense industry is very important to Texas and Texans.
Enormously
Is that going to help
important.
him in Texas?
Well, I think the fact that Bush is strong on defense helps Texas, and the fact that he's committed to maintaining a strong military establishment. I think Dan Quayle sort of reinforces the Bush position on national defense.
Now, how do you see Dan Quayle and Lloyd Bentsen matching up in the vice presidential match?
Well, you know, they're from different generations. It's going to be very interesting to see how it works out. Dan's more of an informal shirt sleeves kind of guy, and Lloyd Bentsen is a man of great personal dignity, and it's going to be interesting to see how it works out.
Were you surprised by the announcement?
I wasn't surprised. I think I felt all along that Dan Quayle and one or two others I could name were the kind of people that Bush was looking for and was considering.
Why do you think the announcement came today instead of on Thursday, as originally planned?
Well, I think there's really a lot of media pressure, for one thing. Another thing, I think they felt that by waiting until Thursday would maybe take a little of the news value away from the president's nomination and his speech. And, you know, it's kind of hard to keep that secret for very long. And at some point, you've got to tell somebody, you've got to tell the man that's gotten the nomination so he can prepare his speech. You've got to line up people to give nominating speeches for him, and that takes time. So you can't wait until the last minute.
For Texans who really would say, Dan who, what would you say to them to kind of give them an idea about the Dan Quayle that you know?
Well, they will get to know him in due course. That's the function of a campaign. And, of course, modern mass media have the capability of building the name identification and public awareness of a candidate very quickly, regardless of whether or not he's well known.
All right, Senator Tower, thanks so much for joining us tonight. And in closing, the choice of Senator Dan Quayle, Steve, was so unexpected, souvenir vendors have been really caught off guard. This button is being printed right here in the Superdome, and as you can see, it's really kind of a rush job. It's only hours old, and already the button is falling apart. They will be into much more sophisticated presentations, you can be sure, by tomorrow. Day 2 of this GOP convention brings the unexpected, rather Day 3 brings the unexpected. Tomorrow promises to be excitement just as much as the state of Texas puts George Bush over the top during the roll call vote. We'll see you tomorrow live from New Orleans at noon, 5, 6, and 10. Steve, back to you.
All right, Clay, thank you.